All right, guys, big news coming out for DC fans. If you are a fan of the Batman, remember when it came all the way back in the year 2022? Well, they're making another one. There have been endless updates, most of which have been the script is almost done. The script is getting close to done. I've almost cracked the script. We're getting there. Well, the script is done, and it looks like the big news right now is that Scarlett Johansson is in talks to take on a big role as a potential villain in the upcoming Batman sequel. They're also saying that Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman is likely not to return in this film. That makes perfect sense to me because she left Gotham at the end of the first film. Maybe you bring her back in the third movie and you keep them apart for at least one film, and then you get some type of happy ending with those two characters. I didn't personally think much of their chemistry together as actors, so I don't really feel like it's any loss. But Scarlett Johansson right now, basically what they're saying is that she could play a possible love interest turned villain, which means most people believe that the character she will end up playing is Andrea Beaumont, aka the Phantasm. My generation knows her from Batman Mask of the Phantasm when I was growing up. One thing I've seen people being bummed about is they were hoping to see Sophia Falcone take on a big role in the Batman 2 because that character was the breakout star of the Penguin television series with Colin Farrell, and she did so great. She was kind of the talk of the town, and they thought she was going to end up being maybe the bad guy in that film, but that doesn't look to be the case. But Scarlett Johansson is a no-brainer for any studio that wants to hire her. She is the highest grossing actor of all time, period. Number one. Samuel L. Jackson is number two. Now, obviously, Marvel is really the driving force behind a lot of that, but Scarlett Johansson is a mainstay. She is a huge name in Hollywood. Everyone knows who Scarlett Johansson is. And right now, she is a shoo-in with franchises. So she went from Marvel, where she made a ton of movies, she made a ton of money, had a lot of strong visibility. She's a bona fide female action star. If you think about movies like, whether you liked it or not, movies like Lucy, which if I'm being honest, I actually enjoyed. Don't quote tweet me or don't at me, whatever it is, leave me alone. I actually like that movie. She's good, right? And she's just gone on. She did Jurassic World. She took over for Chris Pratt over there. Now, that movie made about $800 million. It didn't make the same bank that the Chris Pratt movies did, which did have a little bit of diminishing returns. By the third movie, it definitely didn't make as much as the first two, but it's still a bankable action franchise, and she shepherded it forward to an $800 million box office in a year that was kind of meh at the box office this year. So she's got Marvel, she's got Jurassic World, she's Tangled, The Exorcist coming out, I think next year or the year after. She just signed on for that, and now potentially going over to DC. And if she goes on and she portrays this character, I think that they could get a lot of mileage out of that. There was a lot of people talking about it. I'm going to read to you first where people are getting that news from. This was an article from Polygon back in September of this year. Reeves said that he and his writing partner, Mattson Tomlin, whose name I kept mispronouncing earlier, did a deep dive into the Batman comics and watched a bunch of movies, not all of which were set in Gotham, to figure out which kind of story they wanted to tell. Since his first film was focused on Batman trying to establish himself as a hero, Reeves wanted to center the sequel on Bruce Wayne. The Batman 2's villain will dig deep into Batman's past and his life, rather than just providing a threat to the Dark Knight. So they want the character to have a verifiable tie to to Bruce Wayne, not just be a bad guy that Batman has to beat. Picking the right villain that digs into his past and his life, that was the sort of what drove that discussion, and I won't tell you where we ended up. But I will tell you that I'm super excited about it. The filmmaker then further narrowed the field by saying, I will say it's never been done in a movie before. Now, obviously, Mask of the Phantasm is a movie, but it depends on whether you count that as it's not a live action movie, and I saw some people just adding live action on there to the way they were talking about it. So Jeff Snyder adds that she's playing a love interest that later turns out to be a villain. It was also reported that Emma Stone passed on the role that Scarlett Johansson later is taking. Now, according to these reports, if all of this ends up being true, that Emma Stone was the one who was initially supposed to be cast in whatever role that is, and she passed on it. Says Scarlett Johansson reportedly instructed her team to pursue the role in the Batman 2 aggressively and do whatever it took to figure out her schedule once she heard that Emma Stone had passed on the role. It's got to be like the hardest thing in Hollywood when you're a working actor. The scale of Scarlett Johansson is just you've got projects going on constantly. So finding a time to fit whatever project you want to do into your schedule, you really have to make it work. If it's a movie like The Batman and you really, really want to do it, you got to find a way to make it work around all of the other stuff that you're working on. Then some people did some fan casting with the picture here. Here is her as Black Widow. And then you see the Phantasm from the movie, and there's a strong resemblance there. Here's one where they did a Photoshop workup of her. I like the tactical outfit here, and I think the mask is so iconic that it could end up being a fantastic reveal. But my hope would be that they don't end up, they'll have to do the flashbacks to spend as much time with Scarlett Johansson's face visible as possible, given the fact that the mask, you don't a lot of times think of like Pedro Pascal and The Mandalorian. Like actors, they don't want their faces, covered in a mask the whole time. They want their faces visible. And when you're a star the size of a Scarlett Johansson, they always run the risk that the studio will want her face as visible as possible. So you'll have to lean into the flashbacks of their relationship and then cut that between the amount of time that's spent with her in the mask as Phantasm. I do think that this could work, and I do think that the Batman, look, I've got my own critiques. I didn't think very much of The Batman when it came out. It made $772 million, a good run at the box office, but I guess a lot of people were thinking that Batman movies these days were just all going to hit $1 billion, but that's not even historically the case. But I did expect it to do about, I expected it to make $800 or $900 million. It got close to that, but it wasn't the movie for me. It didn't speak to me in any real way. I thought I would like it. It was too long for me at like 2 hours and 55 minutes. If they could pare this one down and get it to 2.5 hours, I would be very, very happy with that. It's crazy to think how long it took. I'm sorry, guys. I'm having trouble talking today. It's crazy to think how long this script took, and 3 years is a long time, but here's the thing. 3 years is a long time for a sequel, but in DC time, that's an even more insane thing. When you think about it, you were coming up at the end of this movie. It was the end of the Snyderverse. And then people thought that The Rock was going to take over at DC because he was pushing Black Adam. Then James Gunn comes in. Now, these films are separate. They're not in the same universe. And now James Gunn's been in charge for a year. His Superman movie has come out. It made less than The Batman at the box office. And already now we're looking at the potential of of Warner Brothers being sold off to either Comcast or Netflix or Saudi Arabia or Paramount or any of these things. It's like 10,000 things have happened just in the 3 short years that between the Batman's release and the finishing of the Batman 2 script. I would have preferred that they get that second script done faster. I don't like these huge gaps between the releases of projects. And I just, by 2027, does that mean that the Batman 3 is going to come out in like 2065? That was like the joke I made earlier. Is that when we can expect Catwoman to come back? Look, are they using the storyline here to age Bruce Wayne up so he's not like Batman Year One? He's now in his mid-30s like he was in Mask of the Phantasm, so they can explain why so much time has gone by. I guess that doesn't really matter because I don't think Robert Pattinson actually looks all that much different. If anything, it's making him look younger in the flashbacks then would be the weirder part because he's going to look the same in the flashbacks as he would in current years. So they'll have to do the thing where they give him a different hairstyle to make him look younger. Just look. And then also this week, I saw that Scarlett Johansson was getting dragged online because she threw her support behind Woody Allen again, because she's always been supportive of him and she worked on several of his films. And basically X was kind of eviscerating her, calling her supportive of a pedophile, calling him supportive of an abuser. I was like, is it possible that her publicist or her management team released this news to get that out of the news cycle and focus the SEO back on her directorial debut, which just came up, and now this news, which pushes it out of the cultural discussion? That is absolutely the type of tactics that they use in Hollywood to keep an actor's, name trending in a positive direction. And I do think most people would love to see the Batman. They had Colin Farrell as the Penguin in the first movie, but if you get Jeffrey Wright, as Gordon. You've got Robert Pattinson. You get Scarlett Johansson. That's the making of a good movie, and I do think that she is a net positive for the film at the box office. I would like to see it make more than the original, especially given inflation, how much movie tickets cost, and how much inflation has happened just between 2022 and 2027 when this movie will potentially have come out. The movie has to make more than the Batman did. It really does. It can't make $770 million. It has to make $800 or $900 million. I feel like these days, so much of the discussion that people are having around movies proves that they're not the cultural touchstones that they want them to be. If we have to argue... Again, guys, I'm losing my voice today. If we have to argue about whether Superman 2025 was successful with its $600-something million at the box office, if you have to have that discussion back and forth, that means that it wasn't, I think. When something is a cultural touchstone, when something really does hit, it doesn't need to be argued about. People just know that it was. Marvel were billion-dollar these Marvel movies were billion-dollar franchises. Even Minecraft this year, nobody's arguing about whether Minecraft was a hit because it made nearly $1 billion at the box office. That seems to be the benchmark that they have these days if you want something to do that. I think Scarlett Johansson is a good pick if you want to get your film over the $770 million mark and you want to get it closer to $1 billion. I think she could, and seeing her play a villain would be a very interesting arc, especially since she would have that ability to play both a love interest and a bad guy. There's a lot of sympathy there. I think that she could do a great job with it. Let me know down below, guys. What do you think? Do you think that Scarlett Johansson will end up there? I'm waiting on confirmation from that. It really does feel... I saw all of these posts. They're like she's collecting franchises like the Infinity Stones. We're talking DC. We're talking Marvel. We're talking Jurassic World. All of these big franchises in Hollywood. Scarlett Johansson is a huge part of it. And like I said, the highest grossing actor of all time. This movie would go a long way in helping her cement that label even further. So let me know down below what you think about all of that, guys. Would you want to see her in a DC movie, or should she go back over to fledgling Marvel and try to save Marvel after Doomsday? Who knows? Let me know down below. Let me know what you think. And guys, if you don't know what our podcast is, Pop Culture Crisis is live Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is of course noon Pacific. We'll see you there, guys. Later. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.